We'll call to order the May 7th, 2012 meeting of the Ascension Gravity Drainage District. Roll call, Madam Secretary, please note that Councilman Turner and Councilman Johnson are absent tonight. Would everyone please stand for the invocation by Councilman Chris Lohr, and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Lord, as we gather here tonight, we ask a special blessing on all of those who were negatively impacted with the rain event of last week, especially those who were flooded and who are struggling and trying to deal with the losses that they encountered. We just ask that you somehow provide them some relief and some future protection, and we ask that you help us in all of our decision making. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chris. On the public comment period, anyone wishing to speak on an agenda item, please sign up with the secretary and note that item, and you'll be given some time when it comes up. The chair would entertain a motion for the acceptance of the minutes of the April 2nd, 2012 meeting. We have a motion by Mr. Todd Lambert.
Second.
Second by Doc Satterley. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. On my chairman's report, what I want to do is get Mr. Rue up here. We had a tremendous rain event in our parish, one that we don't hardly see. And we're going to go through it completely and take a look at what happened, what type of event it was, and take a look at the loss that we had and the damage.
Yes, sir. I guess one thing we like to do first is explain where some of this, is it on? Okay, explain where some of this terms come from. We always talk in the public and to the commissioners about a 10-year rain event, 20-year, 25, 50-year rain event, and such as that. What happened was many years ago, the U.S. Weather Service started collecting data of storm events throughout the country. Eventually, this was taken over by NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and revised. And they put together maps that indicated the different rain duration and intensity of rain events all over the country. And again, it's been revised several times. What they did then was take all this data and look at the reoccurrence of the different type storms and place it into 5, 10, 25, 50, and 100-year reoccurrence of the particular storms in different areas of the country. It changes throughout the country. All public agencies use this data to establish or to construct their drainage structures, put into their drainage ordinances, whatever. We use, and it's commonly used in this area, the 10-year event, which is roughly 8.5 inches of rainfall in a 24-hour period. As part of NOAA, as part of the mapping, they actually have occurrences that's more detailed than that. You know, for a 10-year event, they have it broken down to 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 6 hour, and 24 hours. So you can actually go on there and look at short-term events and determine what type of rainfall you had and how it fit into the whole issue of how rare this occurrence is. The rainfall that we had last on, I guess the May 2nd, was recorded. I handed out a map. I'm going to put it on the screen. This is from NOAA, and it's color-coded in the northern part of the parish to show the different types of rain, rainfall intensity. It's kind of hard to see on this, but the darker the colors, the more intense the rainfall. You get into the bright red, then you're looking at anywhere between 6 and 8 inches of rainfall. Now, the event that we looked at on May the 2nd was about a 3-hour to 3.5-hour event. So you're looking at between 7 and 8 inches of rainfall in this area. This area here, a little bit darker, is anywhere between a 5 and 6 inch rainfall event. and going down to this is between, that's between 6 and 7, just between 5 and 6, and so on. So again, it was a significant event that occurred on May 7th, and it's an unusual event. When you look at the chart on the reoccurrence of this type of event, you're looking at, when you look at between 6 and 8 inches within a 3-hour period, you're actually looking at a 100-year event. And what they, through their data and through their averaging of this, of the reoccurrence of this, of these events, they deem a 100-year event is basically averaged over many years, that it should occur within, one time within 100 years. Or, another way of looking at it, 1% chance of it happening in any given year. So when you analyze it according to this, we're looking at most of the heavy rains, especially where we had a lot of problems with flooding and structural flooding, that you had anywhere between a 50 and 100-year rain event in those areas. Now, when we're doing our drainage structures, again, it's not only us, it's the DOTD and many other, most other agencies. We use the 8.5 inches of rainfall in a 24-hour duration as a 10-year event. That's what we gauge to determine the runoff within a basin, to determine what size structures need to be in there to accommodate that kind of flow. Again, when you get into this situation, the bottom line is the type of rainfall we had, it's way more than any drainage structure that was in any of the, most places in Ascension Parish can handle. Far exceeded any standard or construction standards that we use for the establishment of the size ditches or the covers, anything else. So that's a long way of getting around to the final point is we just had way too much rainfall than the ground could handle, the structures could handle, and it was in an extremely short period of time. We did go back and we're looking at certain structures within the parish that can be upgraded. For the most part, if the people or the drainage board, wanted us to go back and use the higher criteria, 25, 50, or 100-year criteria to establish some of these drainage structures, we'd be glad to. But I'm telling you right now, it's almost impossible, or it's very hard for us to get enough servitude to dig a ditch according to a 10-year, which we already acknowledge as being our standard. It's very hard to get enough servitude to actually dig a ditch to a 10-year standard. We try to dig it as close as we can to a 10-year storm event, but it's very hard to do that. And to give you an example, for instance, if a 10-year ditch, construction of a ditch right now looks to be, say, 12 feet top width, 4-foot bottom width, you go to a 50 or 100 storm event criteria, and then you're looking at probably a 20-foot top and maybe a 6 or 8 foot, 10-foot bottom. So that's the amount of difference you're looking at, and it's totally impossible to do something like that, and that's why almost every agency just cannot do it. They just can't get enough property, from the landowners to dig structures like that. And on the other side of the coin, when you're looking at developments coming in, you put a higher standard. We tried through our development code to even go to a higher standard of 25, and it was hard to do because of the cost of developments to put the subsurface drainage in to handle that kind of flow. We also, it makes it kind of, a little bit harder. In all our developments now, again, we mandate subsurface drainage. We don't have open ditches in new subdivisions, and that's all subsurface, and they are designed to a 10-year standard. So it makes it really bad when you have this kind of rain event, and all the flow has to go to subsurface drainage. Then it really stacks up and makes it even worse. So in a nutshell, that's what happened last week. We're trying to go back and do things, individual projects to change out some crossings and stuff like this. But basically, that's all we can do to help the situation if we approach this type of incident again. So, and I'll be glad to answer any individual questions.
All right, real quick, you had another handout that basically shows we have
Yes, well,
we have 30.
we had, and I can talk about that for a minute.
Yeah.
We have right now documented 30 places throughout the parish, and this is just a map indicating the locations. Right now, this is reported only, and I
Okay.
emphasize that because not all the places has been verified as actual flooded structures. Our survey group is going, and engineering is going back and actually going to every location, verify that it was flooded, number one. Number two, taking shots or determining elevations of the high water marks at the house and in the same area as the house, and also determine the structures around the house that may have contributed to, or I guess exacerbated the situation. But in most cases, it's just too much water inundating the area. But we are documenting that for our purposes so we can record that and verifying that what's on the map is accurate, and if it's not, we take it off, and then we issue a final report.
Yeah, and I want to let everybody know that the drainage department is still going out and trying to verify all the different. I mean, one thing you do find out in any rain event, you find the stopped up culverts and stuff like that, and so trying to verify everything that needs to be done that could have been done at the time.
Yes, sir. And we're also going back to after some roadways, bridges, and some other places throughout the parish, and establish high water marks. And what we want to do is put in our own database that we can coincide with this type of event, 3.5 hour duration, this much intensity, exactly where the height of some of the water is. And it'd be the option of the property owner if, in fact, they can have the access to information when, in fact, they come in and want to build a home on a site. We can have this information that it would probably be above the 100-year elevation for us, the building 1 foot above the 100-year floodplain elevation. And it'd be their option to go with this new level to make sure that they get high enough not to flood, even though they get an event like this.
Yeah, before we go any further, I just want to thank everybody, all the different departments, the DPW, the drainage, all departments, the administration, staff, and all the council members that were out there at night working their districts. So just a line of communication and information going forward. And Mr. President, you had something you wanted to say?
I just wanted to say that most of our drainage system is built for a 5-year event. If you go back and read the original plan for major drainage, that's basically what we're looking at. And what'll happen, I tell people this all the time, that sometimes we get a false sense of safety when we, because of our pump station and levee station. And what can happen here, if you get a Category 5 that comes up Lake Maupaw, I mean, I can still assure you that everything that we've done over the years, probably it won't be enough in the worst case scenario. We've looked at different scenarios, and maybe we can get the Corps to come back and show this, because in the 90s they gave us a worst case scenario in Ascension Parish, whereas if you had a Category 5 that would come through, that there would be water all the way to Airline Highway, and all this side of the airline would probably have some water in homes. So, you know, again, you can only build a certain amount when you have an act of God. It's really difficult to do anything about that or to prepare for that. And unfortunately, we did have some homes that flooded, and you know, it was just an event that hopefully you never see again. But just because it's a 100-year event, that doesn't mean it's not going to be. It's going to be another 100 years before it happens. It could happen next week again. So, but it's just the you know, it would be something. This year's just been a bad weather year. I mean, we got tornadoes in Ascension Parish. We've had this flooding and this amount of rain, and hopefully down the road we don't have any hurricanes. So, again, it's just we can only humanly do what we can do, and we can do the best that we can. But when it comes to an event like this, there's not a whole lot that we can do.
Just a quick note. I know that some of the council members have had calls about, you know, some of the people that were inundated, and just, you know, basically question what kind of assistance they could get or state of emergency type things. And
Well, to be eligible, first of all, the governor has to declare a state of emergency in the state. By me declaring a state of emergency in Ascension Parish, that doesn't open us up to any kind of assistance or do anything for us. That small area and the amount of damage that was done, even with the tornadoes, we weren't able to get FEMA assistance in that. So we can work with the government to do the best that we can But this event, I don't think will be eligible for any kind of assistance, federal or state, and I hate to tell you that, but I'd rather be quite frank with you than try to lead you in the wrong
Yeah,
direction.
I just want to clear up some of that. And, any questions? Yes, Mr. Todd Lambert.
Yeah, Bill, you mentioned the subdivisions with the 10-year, storm, which they still have to go with a zero impact, where they can't impact their neighbors with runoff water.
Well,
That's still taking an effect, right? Because I don't know if any arrest yet, but I did get a few calls on some fairly new subdivisions that they felt that the water got higher than it ever did before, and I know through our engineering and, what we require, that we require a zero impact on any offer,
That's a pre-development, post-development impact, so based on that you should have a zero,
Right.
impact after development.
development.
But that's based, again, that's based on the
on a
10-year,
5 to 10-year stuff.
8-hour, 24-hour type rain event. All of that criteria, all that improvements in their drainage structure, their freeboard in that pond, and everything is based on that. So when an event drastically is increased over that amount, then it doesn't apply. It really.
And you said it was too costly to go 25 years, because, I know the development has slowed down a bunch, but in the past,
It's something we can look at. Other parishes, Terrebonne for one, has in their drainage plans has already initiated the 25-year criteria instead of 10. So it's something that we'd be glad to look at. It will be an impact and cost, but it's something that we definitely can look at if that's the direction of the parish. But we ran into a lot of problems with developers in the past because of the increased costs.
I had a call like on 74 when a new subdivision getting built. They alone said they seen more water than they've ever seen before also.
And that's it's a very good reason.
Yeah.
We never had an event.
And
like
that's
this.
it is
Basically it.
yeah, probably
The
a
event
record. It
itself-
probably was a record rain in a certain amount of time.
Most that I can remember in some areas.
That's correct.
And I also like to report on because it was asked of me before, the pumping station. We did man the pumping station. The fact of the matter, because of the sudden impact that came on us and the fact that we didn't really anticipate that type of impact, the pumping station was manned, but we couldn't really start the pumps to run them until later into the event because of the fact we didn't have any water down there. Everything happened here, and it happened so fast, it didn't have time to get down there. We were looking at a 1.5 foot level, 1.6 or so, and we had to wait until it got up to about a 2 before we start pumping. Now, once the water came to us, which was around 12 o'clock or so, we started actually 4 of the 5 pumps, and we're pumping continuously with 4 pumps all the way through the morning to get the water out to help drain the people that had the major rain within our system and get the water out so they can start cleaning up. But it really wasn't a whole lot we can do for us pumping, for us eliminating the conditions.
Appreciate it, Bill.
So you got time?
That's it. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Yes, Mr. Shakefield.
Yes. And that was one of the things, Bill, I think we do such a good job on things whenever we can prepare for them, and this is just something that we couldn't prepare for. However, we still need to do whatever we can. And my question was, did we have any flooding in any new developments that follow the new guidelines that I know a lot of people that, you get feedback and complaints about having to raise your house so high or this or that. Did we have any flooding?
We had a few subdivisions that fairly new. Around Parker Road through there and everything that did experience some flooding and some the house flooding, but that was in a low-lying area of the road, and we begin going back to the drainage, all subsurface drainage. The road itself acts as the conduit for the drainage into the system. When it overflows and stacks up, it can't get into the drainage basin. It's got to go somewhere, and there are some low-lying areas in some of these subdivisions where most of the drainage meets to get into the basins. And those are the most prone to this type of event because that's the closest to where all the water is. It stacks up and it gets into some of the structures right there. So we did have a few newer subdivisions that had problems, but overall it's more of the older places, older subdivisions,
What, did they flood the homes itself?
It got a
or-
little bit of water in some of the structures.
Okay, and that was one of the things, because, you know, I did notice, just going around and observing some of the developments and everything, the elevation of the road varies in different places, and I noticed that high waters occur on these lower areas, and I would just like to ask that we take a good look at it as we continue our inspections on any new developments, that we make sure that there is a runoff from the lowest point that the water can escape, you know, from there, that we'll really take a look at that from that point.
That's another suggestion that we have actually talked about also, is looking at some type of overflow condition or structures that can relieve the water. If it can't get into the catch basin and get up to a certain level, it can overflow and get to a major drainage
ditch.
structure without going through the subsurface drainage and not affecting anybody else. So we're looking at those issues at the same time.
Because I know we've always used the roads as a secondary drainage, and then, you know, try to leave the house as high and dry as much as possible. The other thing is that, and I think you touched on it, is, and I know we had 30 confirmed residences, that I would certainly hope that we would investigate all of them, and I know, act of God, we can't prevent them all, but if we could stop 5 of them, if we found out that culverts are undersized at a certain area, or so on and so forth, something that we can do something about, you know, I would like to investigate that and make sure that we can do, and maybe get a report later on as what the common denominator is about what happened. It might be lower elevation of the homes, or small culverts, or roads blocking water, or so on and so forth, so that we can take a look at it down the line, as we might be able to save 10 of them in another event. If we can do that, that'll help as much as possible. And anything we can do to reduce the numbers, and then also remind people that, you know, no one can, parish government cannot do it all, but we notice this time of year, especially after the winter, you get aware of it, but I've noticed a lot of drains are completely stopped up with just leaves and small twigs and things like that. And on a flash flood event, that's all it takes sometimes to put water in somebody else's home. And so if you can go out, and it's a good time to remember, is, you know, clean out those culverts and catch basins. Stopped on 74 yesterday, and they had an old recycle bin that got jammed up in a culvert, a major culvert on the road right there, and just a matter of just pulling it out. So
What we did, the road department is agreed to look at when they're cutting grass along the road, especially along the road, because we had a lot of issue with that. They're making an effort to notice, the grass cutting crew, to notice any kind of pluggage or any kind of obstructions in a ditch next to culverts, and call it in so they can send another crew out to clean it out. And that's already been discussed with the road department.
But we appreciate any homeowners getting out there and have their rakes and
Help us out.
everything. Just part of cleaning your grass, and just remember that it does affect other people, so we appreciate anything somebody can do.
Thank you, Mr. Shakespeare. Mr. Dempsey
Yeah,
Lambert.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, Bill and past president, really, the response time was really great, but on every event like this, it seemed like we learned a little bit more. A lot of the fire stations were flooded, you know, the roads, you couldn't get to them. We need to find some more staging points for the sandbags and the road barricades. A lot of folks was out there, they were literally holding the water back with towels in their front door, and there was no way they could leave to go get the bag. So we're gonna need to look at getting some other sites to, you know, the fire stations are good, but we need to get something with all the equipment in them at the northern ends and, you know, throughout the parish. I think one of the things, you know, you need to realize if you make a wake, you're responsible for putting water in someone's house. I mean, in a boat, car, whatever, you know, you need to respect each other as you're going through this high water. I mean, it was literally a half inch from going into a lot of these homes. I mean, we got 30, but it could have been a lot more. So we need to really stress that respect going through these high waters. And, you know, it was challenging, I can tell you that out there. I was in the front line, and it was very, very challenging. So thanks for all your help.
Thank you, Mr. Lambert. Doc?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bill, I want to commend your group as well, and boy, you sure took a lot of heat on me. I've got my share of calls, I'm sure, like everyone else, and I'm glad for those watching tonight, you were on record talking about the issue of the pumps on and when. You know, we spoke about that. As Dempsey just said, the car wake issue, so I don't want to review that, but specifically on Highway 73, there's, of course, that construction with the widening of the road and with the placement of the sewer lines that's going to go in there. I got several calls in Province Point and Seven Oaks and other subdivisions off of 73 talking about could that possibly be the cause of the flooding. And of course, as you know, I spoke to you about that as well and tried to get that information back, but I was wondering if you'd want to, just on record here tonight, as our drainage director saying that absolutely had nothing to do with the etiology of the flooding in that area.
For the most part, it did not. The structures, even the temporary structures were put in according to the standard of flow. Because actually we gave them a lot of that, you know, what size structures need to go in there to provide the adequate flow through it. So, but that was all beyond or below the type rain event we had. So I don't think, and I'm 100% guaranteed, but with what I saw, what I observed before and after the event, that really that had nothing to do with what happened in that area.
We don't have any of our drainage systems that are blocked because of the construction.
Not the major systems aren't. I mean, the major one is the Goudin, Bayou Goudin coming through there. You got some other sub-basins, outfall ditches that's coming into it, and especially, you know, going towards 73. Got some subsurface drainage box covers, juice box covers that goes through there. But they haven't been touched yet, so I don't see where the construction was impacted.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Has impacted.
Yes, anybody else? Mr. Lower?
Bill, as you said, you know, obviously this is something that's doesn't happen often at all, but certainly situations like this exacerbate some of the complaints and issues the people have been having, and so I just want to make sure we follow up on that. As you said, with these residents that did flood, I had a great many in my district. So I'd certainly appreciate follow up with them and see if there are things that we can do around that. And also, I did want to also commend you and your staff. I know it was very difficult dealing with this, but I did have a particular incident along Willow Lake, and there's lakes there, and somebody was able to respond and prevent another home from flooding. So I appreciate your efforts that night.
On in your particular area, and I touched on it a minute ago, we have already came to the conclusion that I think we're going to upgrade structures to a higher standard, at least a 25-year event status, on crossings that the parish is responsible to place. And if there's some structures out there that's below that standard, then we're going looking at upgrading them as soon as possible to a higher standard, so at least roadways and things like this that we put in doesn't hamper the situation if we receive something like this before. For a little bit more cost of the structure itself, you know, going with 3 box covers instead of 2, a little bit of cost would be beneficial, I think, overall in the long term. So we're going to upgrade our standard to at least a 25-year on our own crossings.
Thank you.
Any other council members? Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mr. President.
I'll take that.
You can be that.
Anyway, Bill, I'd like to also maybe reach out to the board here to possibly maybe amend the budget to buying a couple of these sandbag machines. That way we can have some sandbags that are ready made up, readily available to the public, keep a supply on hand, to whereas when something like this happens again, that we would be at least able to bring some sandbags to areas, especially with the small amount this time of houses that flooded or might have been impaired, that we can get out there a lot quicker with it and have those bags already made up, and then they'll last about a year, but you could recycle them, just continually do so. So we don't have in the budget this year to buy any sandbag machines, but I think in the future to look at some of the better ones now. I think the quality, we had an old one, but it continually broke down. So if we could maybe look at the possibility, come back to y'all and let Bill get some prices.
Please, what I'd just ask is that out of the administration is take a look at what machine is best, that we believe is a good machine, and proven machine, and give us a budget estimate on it.
On that issue, Mr. President, we kind of looked at some before, but I'm going to get back with Ronnie and I and reevaluate some of the ones that were presented to us before. In fact, we had one that was going to come down and give us a demonstration. If we go to one, we might as well spend a little bit extra cash and go with a fully automated type system, so we can get a number of bags out more efficiently than doing them, by manpower. So we will go back and revisit that issue.
One quick one. Yeah,
Yes, Mr.
just
Charles.
like what we had this past, if they'd have came got sandbags and sand, they wouldn't have had time to load
right.
them
But if
and
we
put them in
have-
front of their houses. So it's an excellent idea to have them on standby. I would agree with Parish President on it. Because it happened so quick on us. It takes time to shovel sand in these bags and put them out. If you have them already ready to go, it would be a plus. So it'd be a good idea to have. That's all I got, Mr. Chairman.
Any other comments by any commissioners? I just want to summarize some of the things that what we've seen is basically, we do appreciate everybody that's helped, but we also appreciate the public. Get out and, if anybody stood outside their house, back of their house, on the side of their house, and they saw something not draining, they saw a culvert that was stopped up, please call it in. Call it into either DPW or drainage, either one. We couldn't see everything. We was trying to hit the big issues and the strong points, all right? Another thing on all the structures, we have an engineered standard on all the structures, but our parish is kind of flat and long, and we are gravity drainage, so it does take a while to get to the pumps. I personally am blessed to. My neighborhood is in the lower part of the parish and not that far from the pumps, okay? But, generally we see the difference when the pumps turn on. Some of the people further up, it takes a while. I know, Brian, you're in the city's pretty close. Those pumps have tremendously helped this plant. But we got a lot of things going. I just want to let everybody know that we will continue to investigate all the areas that we had problems with and try to work it out. But we need the public's input and the public's help on it. Another thing that what we've seen through some of the board members here, the council members, the administration, the staff, and everybody going around, we've seen subdivisions with all the houses. We might have had water on the road, but the houses were well out the water, okay? And then we might have saw one house or two houses that for whatever reason looked like they were built lower. You can only assume that when the standards were set, at whatever time the subdivision, be it 5 years old, 10 years old, 20 years old, whenever the elevation standards were set for that subdivision, that we should see those houses basically at the same elevation or somewhere thereabouts, depending on how the land moves. But I don't know the reason for that. I can't explain that. I can't explain what happened 15 years ago, okay? Another thing we've seen subdivisions, I have one in my district, where all the houses were in good shape, but the road at the front, just like what was explained earlier, is well out of water. You go to the back of the subdivision, the road's under 1.5 feet of water. The house is in good shape, and the houses do get higher as it goes to the back, so the elevation was maintained on the houses to protect the structures. But the road wasn't. So, you know, there's a lot of looking at through whatever commission we need to look at and look at some of these standards of what we're going to do. We talked about the roads that, even in the engineering standards, that some of the roads were actually, they are going to be the secondary containment, secondary runoff, you know. Basically looking at subdivisions that if, with subsurface drainage, an escape point, above ground escape point, which you spoke about earlier, Mr. Rue, that for it to hit a ditch. It doesn't take a whole lot to plug some subsurface drainage. I know personally on the state roads in my area that we have people that have received permits from the state to culvert in front of their houses. They're not all the same diameter culverts. They don't all have catch basins at the same length. I think within the parish, we're pretty stringent on that, okay? We have been since I've been involved anyway. So, and I think it was there before I got, you know, so, you know, there's things that lead to a major event right here that somewhere the water's not moving. Some places don't have a place to go. This time, our major rivers, they meet, and some of the other tributaries were at a level where they could accept the water that we had. And our rain event didn't go north of us to where we get it back, coming back on us 4 days later out of the northern Amite Basin, which is what we've seen a lot of times. So we were lucky in that way. But there's a lot of things to look at on this. And so we'll just continue to move forward. I really do. Once more, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank the residents that helped other residents in their neighborhood, the people that looked out for each other. That's always being done in this parish, no matter where you're at. So, thank you guys. Any other questions for Mr. Rue? Thank you, Bill. We'll move right into agenda item number 6, drainage report, Mr. Rue.
Yes, sir, I'm not going to go into too much detail. The fact is, not too much has changed since last month's report. It's before you, and I welcome you to ask any questions either tonight or call me in the morning. I'll try to answer them or settle the issue. There's also a report from GSA on their activities, mainly to do with the Law Ridge Levee extension that you might be interested in, and also Bay Conway and Village Road Bridge replacement. And again, it's there before you. Again, myself or Mr. Lambert would be glad to answer.
I would like to see Mr. Lambert. One of the main things that we're looking at as our major projects is give us a rundown on the Law Ridge Levee extension. Jake Lambert with GSA.
Jake Lambert with Glenn Shaheen and Associates. How y'all doing this evening? We met with the Coastal Protection Restoration Authority last month as we had been working to schedule that meeting. We didn't quite get the reception that we were hoping for. We were looking for some funds from them to begin the engineering, design, and permitting phase of this project. So what we did, we got a commitment from the Pontchartrain Levee District that we're sending them a proposal to begin this permitting phase, design and permitting phase, and they're going to work it through their finance committee at next week's finance committee meeting, and then hopefully if everything passes, which we don't anticipate any problems, it going before the full board Pontchartrain Levee District meeting the third Monday of this month.
Okay, if you'd hold, we have one speaker on that, Mr. Prejean, Nikki Prejean.
I want to congratulate the 3 new councilmen. I only ask and hope that you all stay in unity with the majority of the council. In the last 4 years, it's very obvious our council went farther and got more accomplished under great direction from the council and the parish president. No excuses this time. I know we've got good people. I met all 3 of them tonight. Knew Terry way before. I hope we keep the unity together. I'm impressed from time to time when y'all get a little bit divided, but not in the long run, bring back unity and progress. I only had a question in reference to the Laurel Ridge Levee extension. All of the comments you all talked about, the 5.5-inch rain at Lake Martin last week, 6.5-inch rain at Lake Martin last week. I understand all of that. In our area, it is flat, 7.5 feet elevation. It didn't matter what size the culverts and the ditches were, because the roads and the water went straight across the roads. Luckily, the east wind hadn't blown the prior 3 weeks. 3 weeks ago, the east wind had the tide backed up to flood stage at Lake Martin, and the swamps were full, and it all blew out, and the 6 inches of rain that came in, primarily from where you all doing a pumping station, Anderson Bar area, all that water, went on out quickly. In 5 hours, we ended up with 6.5 inches of rain, as all you talked about. And it went out fast. It went out in 5 or 6 hours. Daylight Thursday morning, it was gone. You all have done ditch drainage, culverts, many things in the past that really helped that get out quicker. The pumping station doesn't really do Lake Martin anything. But I mean, basically, the Laurel Ridge extension coming back behind the swamps in Lake Martin is going to really be a benefit to the residents in the area. And I knew that it got popular a year or two ago, and I know y'all have, I'm gonna guess, 10, 12 million of that bonded money still funding, and I was just going to ask that you please not forget that, and allow that project. Mr. Lambert has been very helpful in asking any questions I ever wanted unofficially, and Parish President Martinez got a confirmed commitment from Randy that he's now our councilman. I don't know if he's any better than Todd. I ain't got to use him yet, but seems like he's going to be all right because he's from the area. But, and I just wanted to help kind of nudge y'all along to not forget about the lake area. Ain't but 715 votes in the whole section, but we're good people. Thank you.
We don't count votes, Nikki. What the thing is, right now, we're going to look at, we believe that the engineering going forward is going to happen with the Punch
Just didn't
Drain
want to
Levee
get stagnated if at all
Levee
possible.
District.
'Cause that-
And we intend to move that project forward.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions for Mr. Rule on the drainage report? Thank you, Mr. Lambert. We'll move on to agenda item number 7, acceptance of the lowest responsive bid for one used steel welded barge. Mr. Rue.
On April 3rd, 2012, the purchasing department received one bid for a used steel welded utility barge. The bid was received from Maintenance Services Incorporated, and it was for $15,000. After review, the purchasing department and EAD recommend accepting the lowest responsive bid from Maintenance Services Incorporated for $15,000, and they authorize the parish president to enter into any applicable agreement or contract for this project.
So moved.
Second.
Motion. Who was the motion?
Ed Schick.
Motion by Mr. Todd, second by Mr. Shakespeare. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. We'll move on to agenda item number 8, renewal of the contract for 2012, Jet Trucking Contract Dirt Hauling List. I guess this was a request by Mr. Turner.
It was, I can explain it. Of course, this is addition to the list of contract truckers. JET Trucking was on the list and wasn't renewed by his own request because he had other work. He has now requested to be back on it, and Commissioner Turner makes that request to the commission.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Dempsey Lambert. Any discussion?
One.
Yes, sir, Mr.
Bill, and
Dempsey
he
Lambert.
has the insurance that he needs with this?
He has to submit all of that to the legal department for
Okay.
review, and after review, we'll be offering a contract to him. If he does not meet the qualifications, one will not be offered.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. The chair would entertain a motion to move into executive session on agenda item 9A.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion by Mr. Brian Melanson,
Second.
second by Ms. Terry. Any discussion? Any opposition? We will adjourn to executive session. Chair would entertain a motion to reconvene. Motion by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Brian Malonson. Any discussion, any opposition? We'll reconvene. At this time, the chair would entertain a motion to move to executive session on agenda item 9B, Dutton Road LLC docket. We have a motion by Mr. Dempsey Lambert.
Second.
Second by Mr. Kent Shakespeare. Any discussion? Any opposition? We adjourn the executive session on 9B.
Hey, I got two tomorrow.
Chair would entertain a motion to reconvene.
Move to
We have a
reconvene.
motion by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Kent Shakespeare. Any objection? We are reconvened. I want to thank our legal counsel for the update on agenda items 9A and 9B. We will now slowly move into agenda item number 10.
Motion adjourned.
We have a motion by Mr. Todd Lambert to adjourn. We have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Chris Lohr. Any discussion? Any opposition? We are adjourned.